should be going now. So again, everyone, thanks for coming. And Mindy, I think I'm going to hand off to you because I think you're doing the intros and stuff.
I am doing intros and stuff. I'm super excited to see everyone and super excited to get started with this. So I'm kicking off some intros. I'll go ahead and copy paste the stuff into the chat that I'd love to have everybody speak to. So I'll start off. My name is Mindy Zwanziger. My pronouns are she, her. My role here at Collab Lab is as a mentor, and this is my first time being a mentor, but I actually got to be a part of the TCL 2 back in the day as a participant. So it's really, really fun to come back around and get to be a part of it in this way. So I'm really excited about that. And then I just would love to talk about something that made you happy this week. And I'm currently in transit. We're in a Starbucks patio currently on my way over to Denver, Colorado. I usually am in Portland, but we're spending a month just kind of a change of scenery. Been sitting in the same house for a year, so let's go sit in a different house. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And this morning, something that I thought was particularly funny, and it made me smile. We stopped at this gas station in the middle of nowhere. We pull over, and the first thing I notice is there's a pen with like llamas and sheep and donkeys. Like, it was the most random thing in this gas station. And my husband turns to me and he's like, this is a very like expensive gas. And I'm like, why is it expensive? Like, what is it? He's like, it literally costs an arm. He points over to the sign that says how much it costs, and unleaded says 1 arm. Diesel says 1 leg. Like, it was fantastic and goofy, and I loved it. So that was something that made me happy this week. And I will go ahead and pass the baton on to somebody else. And then if you could do the same thing when you're done, that would be great. So I'll pass it over to Adam.
Minnie. Yeah, my name is Adam Schilling. I'll go by he, him. I am a developer, TCL 21. So yeah, excited to start this. So I'm happy this week. I went for brunch this morning and I had confit duck with waffles here in New York, in Brooklyn, which was honestly lovely. It was quite nice. I haven't had brunch in a while, to be honest. It was great. After this as well, after this call, my soccer team, Man United, will be playing a game. So I'll see if I'll be happy or sad for the rest of the week as well. So yeah, I'll pass it over to Vanessa.
Hi, I am Vanessa. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a developer. Something that made me happy this week. I've been reading a lot of like just technical books, but I love pleasure reading, but I just haven't been able to pleasure read for a long time, which feels bad. And randomly a friend just sent me a book in the mail. She's just like, oh, thinking of you. And it was just like, felt like, oh, this is so right. This is what I've been wanting. And I devoured this book this week. It's called The Invisible Life of Addie Larue. Check it out. It's awesome. I'll keep passing it along here. Taryn.
Hello. First question for Adam. Does Wayne Rooney still play for Man U? It's been a long time since I've watched them play, but
he doesn't, unfortunately. He's actually retired as a player. He's a manager.
That's what I was wondering. Like, he's probably old now, right? Okay. Anyway, that was my first question. Big football fan. My name is Taryn. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I'm a developer on TCL 21. Something that made me happy this week. I picked up skateboarding again since I was a kid. So I ollied off of a ramp pretty high this week, and that felt like flying. It was really fun. So little victories in that activity for sure. So I'll pass it on to Julia.
Hi everyone, my name is Julia. I'm based in Vienna, Austria, and my role at my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am your code of contact responder. So I posted in the channel earlier, and if you remember, but in a couple of weeks I will be reaching out to you individually, and yeah, just schedule one by one, just to check in with you if you have anything to talk about, and give you space to talk about anything you like and to see how things are going. So I'm very glad to be here with you, and something that makes me happy this week was that is cherry blossom time. It reminds me of Japan, the country where I want to work in the future. So yes, it's a very nice time now. And I pass it over to Tamara.
Hey, Tamara, I hope you're getting connected. Perfect. I see you there.
Awesome. Hello.
And yeah, so we're going over intros. We're doing name, pronouns, role at Collab Lab, and then something that just made you happy this week.
Okay, cool. Yes. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late, but I'm Tamara. I am she, her, herses. I'm a developer in TCL 21, and something that made me happy, I just created a Dodo Codes app from Animal Crossing. Me and my daughter play it, so me and her can, upload our little island codes. So yeah, that's what made me happy this week.
Awesome. And then I think we have just Juan and Lyle left. Juan, do you want to go up next?
Sure. So hello, my name is Juan, he, him. Well, my role is I'm a mentor at Collab Lab. I'm a software engineer. I'm working at a company called Khan Academy. So it's like a nonprofit for education. So that's why I like this, working on this. And yeah, something that made me happy this week. Yeah, I would say that well, in winter, I live in Montreal, and maybe you know that it's cold here. So in winter, I cannot work here. So I have to go to the basement and work like in a dark room. And this week I was able to move here again. So I have like the light and, the nature. So that made me happy. So that's what I got for this week. So welcome everyone. And now let's go with Lyle.
Great. Yeah, so my name is Lyle, he, him, and I just moved to Portland in December. Just, as, kind of what Mindy was saying, maybe changing locations after a year of being in the same place in 2020 was definitely a year. Something funny that did happen this week, I'm a big proponent of April Fools, but I only started in January at my new job, and so I wasn't quite sure to go, going big on pranks. You don't want to freak people out. But I did get our Scrum Master pretty good by, after we had a meet after from our stand-ups that she didn't come to, and then I sent her a little Slack message saying, oh, you missed. When you meet after, we discussed this huge problem. It's going to make us have to replan the next, 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to mess up all of our planning events. I recorded the meeting though, so just make sure you click on this link and catch up so that you can help us, get ready to replan. And it was the first time in I think a few years that I've successfully rickrolled anyone. So I felt pretty good about that, and I thought it was a good time. Otherwise, yeah, I work for a company called Scaled Agile. They're based out of Boulder, Colorado, and they're more of a company that helps software companies build software than they are a software company themselves. So it's an interesting, kind of role that I'm in right now, but it's been fun so far. So I think that covers me. I'm gonna hand it back over to Mindy and let you kind of roll with what's next. I do have the learning module, but I'm not sure if we want to do any more intro stuff in the meantime.
I don't know that we do have any more intro stuff, so I'm happy to just start rolling into the next thing. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
All right, great. So just as kind of a high level, the pattern for our weekly syncs, and we kind of talked about this in the orientation, but it's worth going over again. We're gonna kind of talk about the weeks that we just had. We're gonna do demos of the work that we did. So we'll kind of look at Git and GitHub in a minute and kind of look at the PRs and stuff, just so that we know kind of what we're talking about. After we do the demo sessions for the week, there will either be a learning module or a retro, depending on the week that we are in. and the retros will be every other week. They will be interspersed, so we're switching back and forth between them. Obviously, we don't have anything to demo today because we just started, and we don't have any retro either as a result. So we're going to talk about probably the most important thing to get going off the bat here is going to be Git, you may or may not know Git pretty well, or know Git kinda, or think you're a wizard. But it's always a good idea to kind of go over these basic things. Again, just real quick and make sure that we're kind of all on the same page. So we do have some slides, and I'll run through them real quick, and then we'll just do an example. And we're gonna leave, the learning modules will probably be about 30 minutes every week that we do them. This should not take 30 minutes, but one of the things that we are gonna do at the end of this exercise is just make sure that everyone is able to, kind of pull down the repo and add a new branch, push it back up, and just make sure that we can do all that so we don't have any road bumps as we continue down through the subsequent weeks in the program. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing. And I can find the share button. And I'm gonna do that one. So I should be showing a screen with a browser window with slides that say Git. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. So these are slides. Every team, every group will be going over these same slides today. And we should all be recording these meetings and putting them up on YouTube. So if you want to see how other teams kind of went through this and tackled the same topics, you should be able to do that. What we're going to cover during these slides is creating and switching branches, adding new files, staging your changes, saving them using a commit, pushing them up to the repo, and then pulling down from the remote repo for your branch or for main. So real quick, a couple of Git terms. Repository, that's the collection of files. It is all of the code that we're going to be working with, all of the associated files, and kind of the whole project will be contained into one Git repo, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Each branch is a working copy of that repo, so it is all of the changes and current state of those files for a given section of the repository. The remote is the server, effectively, that you'll be pushing and pulling your changes to and from. I can go into a little bit more detail later if we want to hear about kind of why we need to focus on remotes so much and talk about origins and stuff, especially relative to how Git is with other version control systems. But we'll also talk about commits being a set of changes that you want to save, kind of the Git version of a Control-S, save the file. And then we're going to talk about doing pull requests, which is how we're going to get our changes into main. Git, you'll often see diagrams like this for the changes in branching. And when you look at something like this, you'll see each of these circles on the line represents a change, a commit in particular, which may or may not have more than one set of file changes underneath it. They'll all be bundled into one change. You can see each of these changes kind of reflected in the history of the code. And when we talk about branches, you will create a diversion of changes from the main branch, the series of changes. You can make all the changes that you need to via multiple commits on your branch and then merge them back into main. When you are done merging them back into the main branch, from the Git history perspective, which is just the history of changes made to the files, it should look then like you have merged in your changes with the regular history, and files get updated accordingly. We'll go into a little bit more specifics. Hopefully that will make sense. The commands are really the most important part. There's a good cartoon I'll show a little bit later about just what kind of working through Git and knowing each of the individual commands. But the most important one is going to be Git Checkout, and this is just going to basically be how you pull up a certain version, a certain branch, the set of changes that you're going to work on, That's going to be where you're going to commit all your changes to. You know, it's your working copy of the code. Git Checkout without a flag will be what we use to you know, check out a branch that you already have, or switch back and forth between branches that you have that you want to be navigating between to do changes. And if you want to start a new branch, you're going to use the B flag there, which will create and set up your local repository in the new feature branch. When you're ready to add something to the repository, Git doesn't automatically track new files that you add. So if you're like me and you like to add little scratch files or little text files just to write little quick notes down, Git isn't going to automatically push those up into the repository for you. This can also be, you know, a double-edged sword in that any changes that you thought you made and then you didn't actually add the file to Git, and then you try and push, and then someone else pulls down your code and runs it, and they're missing a bunch of files. Just know that Git doesn't automatically start doing things with new files until you explicitly tell it, Git add this new file that I just made. There is a shortcut around this, which is the A flag, which will just tell Git, hey, look for anything new in the repository and add this to the set of changes that I want to make. Just be careful with that. Like I said, if you added files that you didn't mean to, or if you have tooling or something else that likes to add little files, Git will pick those up as well. When you're ready to commit your changes, so you've done a bunch of stuff locally, you've tested it, you've made sure that it works, you will run a Git commit. And this is effectively just a save on your local copy that tells Git, okay, everything is, I want to save the current state of all the files exactly as they are. So we'll be running Git commit. If you don't pass it any extra parameters when you run Git commit, it'll bring up a prompt for you to fill out a message to go along with it, or you can just pass the M flag that will let you type in the commit message right there. And if you want to combine those things together, you can do Git commit with A and M flags, and then you know, add your detail. I'd like to take a moment and just point out that when you make Git commits, please try and make the message as informative as possible, if for no other reason than for your future self. When you go back and look at the changes that you made in a given commit, you want to kind of know what you were thinking at the time, right? So a short summary of what you did and maybe why, or some context along those reasons why you did it, so that when you come back and look at it later, you know what you were thinking. And if you just go, Git, I changed stuff, you're gonna, you know, find yourself pretty confused. Also, your teammates will thank you. Uploading changes. So I just made a commit, I made a bunch of changes, they're good. I tested them and they're all ready and fine. And I might have done this a couple of different times. So you can commit once, twice, 3, 4, and it'll keep all those changes together. But you want to get it up on the server so that other people can see all of the good work that you've been doing. That's going to be time to do a Git push, which we'll talk again about sort of doing the origin. But the first time you need to do this on your branch, Git push, you tell it, I'm going to go back to the server that we came from, and I want to push all my commits up onto the server so that everybody else can see it. And then last thing is, as I kind of touched on before, Git checkout. So if somebody else made a branch that you want to go then see and use, you will use Git checkout to get where you want to go, and pull to sync everything that you have locally with changes that are on the server. Lastly, when you're done pushing changes up to the repository on GitHub, it should show up in the UI and allow you to create a pull request. So a pull request is you've made changes now on your branch of the code, but you want to get it back into the main branch. In between doing that, pull request in GitHub allows us to look at all the changes that you made, add comments, suggest changes, and if everything looks good, go ahead and click the button. That'll do a merge. Your branch, everything that was changed there will be copied into main, and it'll be added to the history. Last but not least, there is the merge conflicts, which are going to happen. What this means is you've been making changes locally to your files. Somebody else has changed files either on the same branch that you're working on or on some other branch that you're trying to combine the changes together. If you all updated the same lines of code Git's gonna get confused. It's gonna say, hey, you changed this, and somebody else changed this, and I don't know which one's right. When this happens, Git conflicts can look pretty scary just in the raw files. Git is going to save a version of the file that looks like this, which will have changes from the left and changes from the right, and kind of separated in this, these two blocks, and basically say, hey, go figure it out. There's a guide that we have attached here in the slides, as well as a whole bunch of online resources and tools to help you through these. But just know that at the end of the day, you're just trying to pick and change between, two files joining together that don't sync up. There are other resources as well. So just documentation on Git itself. Atlassian, they are the company that makes Jira, they make Bitbucket, they make Trello. They have a lot of good guides on using Git and a couple of different strategies that teams might use for more advanced Git workflows. So how you do branching in a way that makes sense for kind of streamlining the software development process. Also Google and Stack Overflow. Everybody who's been working with Git for a while has probably developed some skills and opinions on it. But most of the time we've all kind of figured out how to make it work. So anyone on your team should also be a good resource. So real quick, before I skip over for questions, I'm just going to demo kind of what we talked about and what we went through. So if you look, I'm in VS Code. I am in the TCL 21 code repositories, the thing that we want to make sure that you've checked out locally before we're done today. I'm using Zeesh, and I'm using a theme on top of it that shows the branch that I'm in. So right now I'm just in a branch called test stuff. In Visual Studio Code, it should also pick up that you are in Git and give you at least some context sensitive UI stuff to help you out with Git and branching and everything that we're doing. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm on a test stuff branch, which is not where I know all of the main magic is happening. So I'm going to switch and I'm going to check out the main branch. So Git will tell me, hey, you switched to the branch main, your branch is up to date with origin main. If I'm not sure about that, or Git will usually tell you right there, hey, main is ahead of you, someone made changes and pushed them that you haven't received yet on your laptop. But it's good hygiene anyway, just to kind of do Git pulls. And this is saying, hey, go check the server, go check the remote repository, find any changes and bring them down. Oh, and somebody did do something. So I've got a one file changed. It was the contributors, and that got updated. So it's great. So I know now that Git is in sync with the remote. If I pull again, it's going to say, hey, you're up to date. So awesome. Git pull, do it often, make sure you're in sync with the server. For now, let's do a new branch that I want to make. So we're going to do some changes. And I'm going to call this the Git demo branch. Cool. So as you can see on my command prompt here, I changed into the Git demo branch. Everything else should look pretty much the same. One thing we didn't cover, but that I use a lot, is the git status command. So right now it's saying, hey, you got nothing to commit, everything's clean. I am just going to make a JavaScript file. I'm going to open it. Hello world. So I just made a new file. Added hello world to it. And I'm going to come down here and just make sure that it runs. Please don't commit broken code. It's no fun for anyone when you do that. But I can see my test script works. If I do git status again, I can see that Git says, hey, I see there's a new file in here. It's untracked. Okay, cool. I know that I need to add test.js. Cool. Let's check status again. Git says, hey, here's the change. You haven't committed it yet. You have a new file. That's awesome. Let's do file. So here I'm going to say, so we didn't talk about hooks, but one of the things that we have set up is every time you do a commit, some scripts will run that'll check things. I think we don't have anything fancy. We might have linting that runs for us, but nothing major happening. But you know, when you see these little check marks, there's some scripts that we have that are set to go off every time you do a commit that do a little bit of maintenance and robot stuff for you. So I've committed a change to my branch. Everything looks good. Let me do a status again. Nothing to commit, no changes. I know that now I want this to go up to the remote. So I'm going to push this and spell origin correctly. So what I just did was I said, okay, I want to push my changes and my branch up to the remote. I'm gonna do that. And this is why we do this kind of thing today, because now it's telling me I have a problem. I just told it no. Wonderful. Cool. Well, what should have happened was that I made a push up to the remote repository, and then I could have shown you a pull request in Git. Let me sort that out in a minute. But I do already have a pull request that is up and open on the repository right now. So the very next step would have been, if I come back over here.
Hey, Lyle, do you mind if I interject for just a moment?
Yeah, go for it.
I did want to make a quick note about committing broken code, because I know that actually is somewhat of a opinion, and especially in particular with the Collab lab, because I know we are all going to be doing this. Like, it's a work in progress as you're doing it, and so like, you feel free to commit code that doesn't work, because you're working on it with a partner and you might get certain distance on it, and that's totally fine. Don't feel like you absolutely need to follow that rule, because it is a bit of an opinion on that one.
Fair enough. And I agree with you, actually. So thanks for that, because yeah, saying that out loud makes a ton of sense. This is one I made last week. So what would happen is on your branch, Git will give you a little dialogue right here that says, hey, I saw you made some changes. Would you like to open a pull request? And what you'll get is one of these right here, which represents it. It's got a title. It's got a template that will automatically populate for you. You just need to fill out. So you're going to add kind of just fill out the stuff in the template saying, hey, what you did and what you changed. There's then an opportunity to run kind of comments. We do have a robot automation set up as well that will go through and actually deploy your code changes up onto Firebase so that you can see what you did and actually see it work. So it should be fully functional with the website. So the changes that I just made in that pull request was, I pushed this up to say Lyle was here instead of the basic React Start template. And that link that was added to the pull request by the GitHub Actions automation is something that you can follow and click on. And it's live on the internet. So all of you can go and look at this here right now. And that's going to be kind of the main thing that we're going to do for reviewing and kind of doing the demos and testing changes. Is looking at these live interactive websites of the branches that we made and that we pushed up. And you can talk about that before going through the code. So I think I'm done kind of walking through the presentation. I'll figure out why Git is yelling at me. I think I just need to log into GitHub or something in the meantime. Before I do that, any additional questions or thoughts? Cool. All right. So one thing I think we should all do is I know we'd at least like to set up the branches for the work that we're going to do for the week. It's while we're kind of working on that, it's a good idea if you need to check out the repository. If you haven't done that yet, do that. We should probably just talk and see just maybe a show of hands as to kind of where everybody is on that. So let's run through real quick and just see kind of, hey, what has everybody done with the repo so far? If your answer is nothing, that's great. That's fine. It's just information that we need to know. So let's just quickly walk through. I'm just going to pick on the order that I have it in the UI. So Vanessa, what have you seen in our repo yet? Have you pulled it down? Have you looked at it? Have you gone to GitHub at all? Kind of how far have you gotten?
Yes, I've seen the repo. I've been able to like change the contributor file. I just pulled down the most recent changes actually while you were talking, so I should have that. Can I ask a quick question though?
Absolutely.
With the git pull command, I think I've always used it where like you're pulling down one file, like git pull origin name. So when you run git pull just by itself, you're pulling down every single branch that's on the repo too and updating those locally? Is that?
Yes, there's actually a couple things that happen in the background. We didn't explicitly talk about git fetch, but it is kind of important to know what's happening. So when you pull, a git fetch happens first. Git fetch is going to get all of the metadata for the repository. That means mostly the list of the branches and the list of changes that have happened on the branches. So it's going to sync that up for the repo. When you just do a git pull, the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to pull all of the changes for the branch that you are on. So if you're on main and you say git pull, it's going to go and it's going to first do the fetch, get all the metadata so it knows what changes are there, and then it's going to pull down all the changes for main. If you check out to a different branch, and if it's one that you've got, kind of locally already, that might not necessarily be synced with changes that are up on the server as well. So if you're in the Git demo branch, like I am right now, and someone else makes changes to it and they've pushed it up to the repository, I want to make sure that I git pull on my branch to make sure that I'm in sync with whatever changes that are going on. But you do sort of get a side benefit of Git is checking the repository for changes in the background and updating everything as it goes. Did that answer your question? Did I over answer your question?
No, I think that was good. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Julia, where have you gotten so far with Git and our repository?
Julia is our code of conduct person.
Oh, again, I'm just looking through the list on my thing and not thinking about it. I apologize. So it's, it'd be great to know if you did it, but I guess we don't care. So Adam, how about you? What have you got to so far?
Code locally on my machine, and I just pulled down the most recent changes and updated the contributor file. So that's where I'm at.
Great. I'm gonna skip you. Tamara, how about you? Where have you gotten with getting the local repository?
I've also was successful in pulling down and committing to the contributors file. I know I had a question with the pull request and how when you fork a repo, you can create a pull request. I didn't know to just directly do it or to just push directly to main or to clone it and then push. So yeah, I was successful in completing it as well.
Yeah, I won't go deep into that one because there's a lot that can be said about kind of forking versus branching, but fork is a higher up thing than just branching. So when you fork, you're actually making a new code repository based on the old one. So it is a new thing in general that just sort of has the same history as the old one. But then it comes with its own new tree of branches and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can change. Now, this might be a good thing that you want to do. Let's say you are deciding to take a library that already exists that is properly licensed to do this kind of thing, and then you want to make it your own and you want to kind of customize it and make changes. It's probably better to do a fork of that than if you wanted to actually contribute to that library and get your changes into the main thing. That's probably one where you would just do a regular clone, which is I'm going to copy the existing repository onto my laptop and I'm going to make changes and branches in there. So there's a little bit of nuance, there's a little bit of different opinions on when or why and how you should do those things, but for the most part, like that's the high level difference. Did that kind of help answer that question?
Definitely. I just didn't know when in terms of pull requests, which I didn't know that you could do pull requests from different methods. I thought So that's all I was just confused about. But yes, that definitely helped.
Yeah, sorry, my demo broke. There's always sort of the risk of your demo breaking while you do stuff. It's gonna happen. But I'll try and get it to a spot where I can show creating a pull request here in just a second. I'll close it down and make sure I'm not fumbling around on making you watch me, muck around on the command line in the meantime. And then is it Taryn or Tarn?
It's Taryn.
Taryn, cool.
Yeah, I successfully added, well, I do want to make a note because in your presentation you said, oh, make your commit message pretty clear. Like I was guilty of not doing that. I just said first contribution, and so in the instant, like let's say in the event that I did that on a more important commit, if I wanted to overwrite that, would I just commit again with a new message, or is there a way to, like, I've never actually had to do that, but I was just curious.
You can edit commit messages. It's a little bit harder than it needs to be.
Sure.
It's also not the end of the world, right? Like,
right.
So it's whatever. I just think
I was
it's
just curious.
To keep in mind. But yeah, no, you definitely can. And there are methods for if you're kind of like me, and I do like to make a lot of little commits, and then as I'm thinking through things, that might not necessarily what I want to be in the Git history forever. You can do something called squash, which is take all of your changes, bundle them up into one, and then rewrite and create a new message for it. It's a little bit more of an advanced thing. It's out of scope of what we're going to do today. But if you find yourself in that situation and you want to learn how to do that, we can talk about it.
That's cool. Other question about package lock. So I know that's usually like your dependency, like your version, right? Your current working version. I did not add that. I chose not to. I don't know why. I guess I just didn't know if that would affect anyone else that like pulls if I were to like push up my own package lock, or is that like a kind of universal thing based on the package.json of the project that we're already cloning?
Yeah, so it's definitely a thing that's specific to Node.js, to Node.js, and it's mostly there to ensure that as you pull down libraries and you put them into the node modules folder, each library has its own dependencies and other stuff, and there's you can end up with a mismatch of things. Mm-hmm. The package lock is there mostly to make sure that everyone else pulls down the same constellation of dependencies in the same order, so that you don't end up with these weird, oh, it works on my machine but it doesn't work on yours, and that's because you downloaded Lodash as one of your dependencies and it downloaded something else, but at the time you did it, it downloaded a different version, and then some bug happened and they blew up. For the most part, I would say don't worry about it. That's really important when you're getting ready to go to production and you don't want stuff to blow up. For local developer stuff, it's probably not going to matter. It does say when you generate it that you should commit this file, and that's kind of why. But otherwise, I wouldn't stress about it.
Okay, so I'll add it later. Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Did I miss anyone before I move on? No. Okay. So yeah, I think we got some more talking about kind of what we're gonna do for the next week. We're gonna assign some of the stories and get things rolling. So that might be a good spot to then do a sync on making sure that we have kind of a branching plan aligned. And I think Juan, that's gonna be kind of your area to talk about for the next little bit. So while he's talking, I can figure out what's wrong with and then we'll sync up and make sure that everybody's working together. So I will hand it off to you. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna share my screen so I can show you the issues that we are gonna work next week.
Cool.
I think that I cannot use the screen sharing.
That's a good question. Is it saying because you're not allowed?
Yep.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. Yeah.
Try it again.
Yes,
Cool.
It works. Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen now? Maybe a little bit bigger. Could be helpful.
Looks good.
Okay, good. Okay.
Although
So,
now I have a super tall, mobile looking view.
Oh, wait a second. I'm gonna try again. Sorry for that. Sit here this way, I guess. Okay. Can you see my GitHub window?
Now it looks
Well,
great.
Chrome? Okay, cool. So if you have noticed, we have all the issues that we are gonna work on for the next weeks. The idea that we are gonna split the work, and every week we are gonna assign one issue per team. When we mention teams, the idea that we are gonna work with pair programming. So each of you will be assigned to one team. So we will have 2 teams per week, and everything will be different. So this is like the first part. I'm not sure if you saw this project brief, but here you will see how teams are assigned for the next weeks. So this is the order for this week. So one will be, for this week, it will be Vanessa and Tamara, and for the other team will be Adam and Tarin. So now about the issues, you can see the list of issues here. Or also you can go to projects in GitHub and you can open this project and you will see all the issues in this list, part of the to-do column. So for the first item, I'm gonna open this in a new window. This is the first ticket. Is as a component, I want to be able to read from and write to the Firestore database so that users can persist information. And if you see in every ticket, we have like a short description and the acceptance criteria for that. So this is one of the 2 stories that should be completed in the first week. The acceptance criteria is the following have been added as project dependencies. So it's basically adding Firebase and React Firebase hooks to package.json. Another item that you have to complete is make a change in the Firestore database, and it shows up in the app. And the other one is make a change in the app, and it shows up in the Firestore database. So that's the first task. And the second task is this one. So as a user, I want to be able to navigate between the list view and the add an item view so that the interface is clearly delineated between viewing and adding. So again, this is the other story for this week. And the acceptance criteria is React Router DOM has been added as a project dependency. Links are present and persistent at the bottom of the app. One for the list view, the other one for the add an item view. When one of the links is clicked, the browser URL updates to represent the current view and a matching view component is displayed. And the other task is whichever view is selected, the corresponding link should display in bold text. So those are the stories that you are going to be working on this week. And one question that I have for you, for the team is if you see in the project brief, so Vanessa and Tamara again will be one team, and Adam and Tarin will be the other team. So do you have a preference to pick one of the tickets of the stories? I wonder, I will let you choose if you want to. Okay, or otherwise, I can help you with that. So yeah, sure. So maybe, I don't know, Vanessa and Tamara, how do you feel about working with adding Firebase, for example?
I think that would be fine for me.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. I did notice in my Firebase console, I don't know that I have access when I click on Firestore, Cloud Firestore, it says to manage Cloud Firestore, ask a project owner.
Okay, so you should have gotten an email invite about that. I think that maybe Andrew or Stacy sent those ones. Maybe check in your email, or maybe you can ping us and we can help you with them to get a new invite.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have like the project, it's in my console, but was there something, but like when I actually go in the menu, like Firestore database, normally like there should be an option to be like, see the actual like database. I mean, I'm guessing it's empty now, but it looks like I can't actually see it because I might not have right permissions.
That's a good question. I actually see the same thing.
I'm looking at the users and permission setting right now. Looks like we have an interesting group of people in there that it seems like there's a combo maybe of two different cohorts. We'll follow up with Stacy on that today, right after this meeting, and see what we can figure out.
Yeah, I see what you
mean. That's
okay.
What I'm seeing. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, cool. So in that case, yeah, I guess that Adam and Taryn can take the other task that is basically adding the React router DOM and adding the info or the completing these tasks that is adding links and maybe configure the routes. One thing, by the way, for you to know is that you don't, if you see here, for example, the corresponding link should display in bold text. You don't have to worry too much about the styles because we are going to work on styling the app at the end of the project. So if you want to add something like normal, do it, and don't worry if the styles are not completely or finished or something like that, because we are going to work on that later. So don't worry about that. It's mostly that things will work and that complete with the acceptance criteria. And speaking of that, now that you you know what to work on, I'm gonna set up some threads in our channel. So in that case, you can coordinate the work for each team for this week. And that's the idea, that we are gonna create threads for every pair. So you can, you know, like work on that or discuss anything that you need to discuss about this stuff. And we all are in the same channel, you know, like open communication. That's something that we try to encourage here. Of course, if you feel so it's like open to you. We are happy to help. So yeah, that's the idea. And I don't know if you have any questions about this.
I have one question regarding the router. Do you have a preference between browser router or hash router for, I notice sometimes there are like conflicts, like for instance, I used React with like an Electron Forge to make an Electron app, and they were like, oh, you need to use browser router instead of hash router, or you'll just get a blank screen. And so I didn't know, working with Firebase or anything like that, if there's a general practice that you've all followed at TCL that you like.
This is like my personal opinion, but I would say that use browser, sorry, because this is our project, so you will be covered with that one.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Would you clarify again?
Oh, that using a browser router.
Browser router. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay.
I concur.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So I think that we still have a couple of minutes, so maybe we can try creating the branches. So maybe we can do that exercise. Do you feel that you would like to try that one?
Yeah, and I can demo the last bit. So I got my thing figured out. If we just want to look at that again real quick, because it's the next thing that we would like everyone to do, which is set up the branches for the stories that you're gonna write. Can I steal the screen from you again?
Sure.
Just real quick. All right. Did that actually do anything? I don't want to share that screen. Hold on. I'm going to share that screen. Okay. So this is where I got stuck last time when I said Git Push. It was trying to log in. I'm running Windows Subsystem for Linux for not here reasons. But basically, it just needed to log into GitHub. So when I did that, it redirected me over to GitHub, and there was a login page that made it go. Don't worry about that. Just telling you what happened. But what I did do is I pushed Git Push U origin, so kind of like what we had talked in the slides, and then Git demo, so the name of my branch. You can see it did some stuff, and it pushed up here to this branch in GitHub. So now I should be able to go over and see it in the UI, and you can see that. So if you look now, GitHub picked up that I did a push of a new branch, and it's got it right here. If I go over here and I do compare and pull request, it's going to automatically do some stuff. So it's going to automatically fill in this pull request template with the title, which was the last commit message that I made on the repository. This is some of the markup template stuff for the pull request, and it's got some helpful little things in here, but it's good to just kind of walk through this template, delete what you don't need, but add what you do for creating your pull request. A good idea to look at your changes and say, hey, okay, I can see that I added one line in test.js for hello world. That all looks good. And then you'd come over and you'd create the pull request. And it's going to think for a second. A couple of things are going to happen. We see now that I have a pull request. I didn't fill out the template. This is just what it comes with out of the box. You can see that there's now a conversation thing, so people can come down here and say stuff on the PR, and get some feedback. The Git Actions is doing that deploy to Firebase right now. So we should be able to see those changes live on the internet here in just a second. It should look exactly the same. This is a good thing to get set up. This is probably a good thing to get set up early. So if we look at our weekly cadence, we were going to talk about getting this done in the first couple of days of the week. Just setting up the pull request, you can still make changes and push them while your pull request is open. But this will give us a place to discuss and talk, and it might be a good way to communicate with your pair during this process. You don't need to do the pull request to do all of your work and communication, but as a place to talk about it and review changes, it's a good idea. Did we say we wanted to officially open pull requests by a given day in the week, or was it just that we had branches created and going?
The idea is that pull requests should be opened about, well, at least to be Thursday, but you can create a pull request or draft pull request earlier if you want to try that experience. That's like the idea.
The other nice thing is that you can delete branches, you can delete pull requests as much as you want. So if you feel like you want to practice and just get a pull request up just to see, go for it. Otherwise, that's it, and I'm done sharing now. Okay.
So one thing, we would like to try creating the branches before the meeting ends. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, for the first team, if someone would like to volunteer on creating the branch data, that one person will create the branch and the other one will pull that branch into their local environment. So maybe Vanessa or Tamara, who would like to create the branch.
I could do it. Okay, cool.
So just in case, not sure if you know this, but the idea about creating the branch is that it will follow, like, we try to follow a format. The idea that with the initials of the one participant dash the other participant dash the name of the short descriptive name of the feature.
Right.
So,
So you said the initials of both participants?
Yeah, maybe
And then
just pasted an example there.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Although I gave you a T for a last name, which that's not right.
While she's doing that, I did have a small question. I hope you guys can hear me okay.
You can, you sound great.
Okay, great. Yeah, so with our little issue, I didn't know if we were going to be dealing with the API key or any kind of like public keys. If so, yeah, I guess I'll just ask that first.
Yeah, that's already configured in the project. If you check, in the source code, there is a source. I don't remember exactly. I think that lib. Yeah, there is a firebase.js folder, and you will see the keys already in there.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
And the remote branch is pushed.
Nice.
Do you want to put the name of it in the chat so that way she can copy paste? That's usually an easy way to.
Yes.
I do see one up there in the UI right now. If you're ever viewing the source code, that little yeah, share one more time. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, if you ever want to see kind of the other branches and stuff that are going on, shows it right here in branches for repository. And I can see here's mine, and here's some of the other ones. So this one just got added, and yeah, we should be able to see what everybody's working on. That's how you check to make sure that you did it.
Cool. Thanks for that. So Tamara, were you able to pull that branch?
Yes, I just did actually.
Nice, cool. Yeah, so basically that will be the branch that you two will work for this week. The idea is to create a new branch for each week, so we can create pull requests based on this branch and then push into main, once we get everything like approved. And now, Adam and Tarin, who would like to volunteer to create the branch?
Up to you. What do you think, Adam?
We cannot hear you, or at least I don't.
I don't either quite yet.
Nothing still.
Can you hear me now?
Ah, yes.
Sorry, my AirPods are rubbish. They never work.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't mind quickly doing this branch. Okay, I think I just did that.
And so in order for me to pull the branch, do I need to know what the branch name is beforehand? Or is there a way for me to access to see what branches have been created?
You can check that in GitHub in the link that Lyle shared. Basically, you can go into the branches window, or even if you are in your terminal, you can use git fetch. So that will get like some new changes, and you will see that.
I'm trying to access the branches again. Oh, I see it now. There it is.
And if you do, I'll just type this command in, git branch -a. That should tell you via the command line what all the remote branches are, in addition to the ones that you kind of have locally. Do remember that this can be out of sync. So if you find yourself, if you think like, oh, I haven't pulled anything lately, it's always a good idea to do that git pull. That'll make sure that you have the latest information from the remote repo so that everything will show up in that list when you run it.
Excellent. Am I missing something? So it's git pull, is it -u or it's or just origin in the branch name? I always get confused with these.
I don't think you need to do, for git pull, I almost always just do git pull with no extra flags on it and just let it kind of do its thing. It's gonna pull for the branch that you're on, but it should figure out that you're trying to get from the remote as well.
Great, yep, it worked. I'm all set.
Great.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, so I think that you are all set. So congrats. This was your first unit test for the project. So yeah, next steps. I'm gonna create the threads in the Slack channel, so you can start having discussions there. I know that Mindy will be setting up the office hours. Not sure if you wanna expand on that for a moment.
Yeah, so I don't know if we've talked about office hours during the orientation. I can't remember, but office hours are just a time for you to come to me with questions, or well, one of the mentors with questions. It can be about the code that you're working on. It could be about, oh, excuse me. It could be about just career stuff, anything that you're particularly interested in, feel free to ask. And so I'll be setting that up at some point this week. So I'll probably send out a doodle and y'all can choose which time is going to be the best for everyone.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so I don't know if you have more questions or anything else. Cool, so I guess that welcome, and we are really excited that you are here, and so looking forward to see what you can do, and looking forward to see what you do this week.
I think we're all pretty active on Slack. It's probably the quickest way to get attention from somebody. We're working human beings, so we all, have things going on in our lives. We might not always respond immediately. That's the most, the easiest way to go. And if you got questions, need help with something, reach out. We'll figure it out. We'll make sure you get taken care of. Well, part of it's, figuring out how to work together. We'll get there.
Great. Okay. So good to see you, everybody, and we'll see you soon.